We really welcome the attention the new government's placed on the problems of mobility in social housing. The truth is it's much more difficult for somebody who's a tenant of a housing association or of a council to move home than it is if you can access the open market. And there are costs associated with that in all sorts of areas, costs of problems with education, problems with getting into employment or getting a better job. And there are costs associated with not being able to care for a relative if you can't move to be closer to somebody who needs to be looked after. And our recent research estimates those costs to be more than £500 million a year for the UK economy. One of the factors, of course, is the change in house prices and the cost of building and providing homes. It means fewer new homes have been provided over the last decade or so. And against that, you've got more and more people registering on waiting lists and housing registers. So there are just too many people competing for a scant resource. Well, there are ways in which people can move from one property to another. And one of the most common is to swap with another tenant somewhere who wants to move to the kind of property that they've got. And that's called mutual exchange. And Circle Anglia provides a web-based mutual exchange service called House Exchange, and it's really simple to use. Any tenant can register on the system and look for people looking to swap, or they can look for a chain of moves, and that really increases people's ability to make a move from one home to another. In a recent survey for House Exchange, we found that more than half of people had been looking for a move for more than 2 years before they registered. And once they'd registered, 4 out of 5 people were able to move within 6 months. When they've found a successful match, then their existing landlord has to approve that transfer, and the landlord involved with the other property, if it's a different landlord, would also need to give their consent.
I was living in a 2-bedroom property on one side of Norwich, which was quite a way for me to walk to school with my little boy every morning and afternoon. So I decided to maybe look for a larger property on the Exchange website, found a few, and within a week I'd already got a phone call. Went and had a look. It was absolutely fabulous. 2 seconds to school instead of an hour's walk. Absolutely amazing. So I decided to take it. I filled out one form, handed it back. 6 weeks later I went in, signed my property back over to them and signed for my new property.
If anybody wants to find out more about mutual exchange, all they need to do is log on to houseexchange.org.uk.